It's less than 48 hours now until the 2026 Commonwealth Games get underway in Glasgow, with Team Isle of Man once again sending a big contingent to be part of this major international event. In the lead up to the Games, we at Manx Radio have been catching up with athletes and teams ahead of the trip. In this episode of the Manx Radio SportsCast, our attention turns to the Isle of Man's athletics squad. A 5-strong group will see Games debuts for Christa Cain, Regan, Corrin and Kinrade, and they'll be joined by more experienced heads in the form of Ollie, Lockley and David Mullarkey. To get an insight into how preparations have been and some of the key targets in 2026, I recently sat down with Regan, Corrin and Ollie Lockley, as well as Isle of Man Athletics team manager Steve Partington, to find out more. So I'm joined now by Isle of Man Athletics team coach Steve Partington and Isle of Man athletes Ollie Lockley and Regan Corrin ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. So Steve, going to come to you first of all, just on a quite general note. I mean, how have preparations been generally over the last few weeks and months?
Pretty good. As long as I don't hear any messages from the athletes, everything's okay. So yeah, it's been it's always a bit of a fraught time and lots of admin and stuff, but yeah, as long as the athletes get training, everything's fine.
And Ollie, you're someone with Commonwealth Games experience already as well. I mean, what makes the Commonwealth Games special as someone who competes in athletics or indeed anything related to the Games, do you think?
Yeah, I think just obviously being able to compete with the Isle of Man at this level is really important, and you know, also with the home nations all being split up into their individual countries, I think that gives a nice sort of domestic level of competition. But yeah, I think it just, you know, being able to compete further afield against other athletes is really important, especially for people like us living on the Isle of Man.
And Regan, for yourself, it's going to be a debut leading up to this summer. How have things been for you? Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I feel really good. I've had a really good indoor season. I had a slightly poor season last year on my own high standards, but I've seemed to put that right so far, so hopefully I'll just keep pushing on.
Steve, particularly the newer athletes, if you like, to the Commonwealth Games, like Regan and of course Ollie here has experience. What are the biggest differences, if indeed there are any, that the Commonwealth Games provides, not just in terms of the level of athlete that you're going to be coming up against, but how you prepare, how you adapt to what goes on? I mean, are there any particular changes that it offers outside of what they do already?
Well, not really. These guys are used to operating at a high level, so it's more of the same. I think the only difference for us is probably that you're actually in that environment for a week or whatever it is, so it's quite focused and it's easy to get sort of drawn into everyone else's games, so you just have to keep a level head, and just it's another competition. It's just that we're in that sort of environment for a week leading up to it, or up to a week. So yeah, that's the only difference really.
And Ollie, from your side of things, everyone has their own way of dealing with it, I guess, and adapting to it, but obviously you've got to deal with the grandeur, the spectacle of the Games, as well as you just trying to do your job out on the track or on the road if you're doing a longer distance event in other times. How do you kind of get yourself into that sort of, I suppose, mindset, as it were, to kind of block out all the noise and just try and do your thing at an event of this size?
Yeah, I think obviously the track element is a bit more stressful psychologically, especially being in a stadium with lots of people looking at you the whole time. But I think just trying to just at the end of the day, it's just running, and just trying to simplify it in your own head, for me personally, is quite important. And then just trying to just pretend like I'm just down at the NSC training like I normally do. It just so happens that it's at the Commonwealth Games, so just trying to treat it as another day at the office really.
Now Regan, from your side of things, I've seen you previously at the Island Games. You're geeing up the crowd on plenty an occasion in the likes of Guernsey and Orkney as well. Do you thrive off that, or is that just part of the routine for you, I guess?
Yeah, I quite like the noise and the extra pressure that comes with it. I think it pushes me on a bit. I think it gets me in the right mind frame to go out there and prove everyone right or wrong, depending on what they're saying. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
And Steve, obviously where we're speaking now down at the NSC, and obviously I'm sure people could probably hear it in the background, we've got an athletics session going on here, but when you actually look at some of the facilities that the Isle of Man has, not just this athletics track, but you've obviously got the complex through there, what's around the island as well, are we quite fortunate here on the Isle of Man to have some of the facilities and some of the coaching expertise that we have here throughout the year?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think before 1994, when we didn't have the track, things were always difficult for us. We've got a track facility, we've got plenty of really good coaches, and you can see it just sort of fosters a great atmosphere and a great sport really. And these guys are sort of the pinnacle of that sport on the island, but there's plenty of people underneath them. You need that big pyramid, you need the base to be wide so that these guys can get as high as they can, and it's working really well at the minute.
And Ollie, you're one of many who's been coming through the system on the Isle of Man, still part of it, of course, as well. So, over the years when you've been given these opportunities and you've had the chance to train and compete in places like this as well, do you see it maybe not just for yourself but for other athletes as well, how much they can excel and progress given what we have here on the island?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's easy to think the grass is greener elsewhere, and you have to be a way to improve. And I think that can be true, but also we're really fortunate to have the facilities we have here, and obviously even the Sir Mark Cavendish Raceway as well, which I do a lot of my training around. Like the fact it's a measured 800 metre loop, I think that would be the envy of a lot of places in the UK. So just things like that, and obviously for my sport, just living on the Isle of Man, there's so many nice routes and places to run that, I don't think I'd want to be elsewhere doing it, really.
Can be sport for choice at times. And Regan, you've had plenty of off-island experience. Of course, you've represented Great Britain on a couple of occasions, more recently at under-20 level as well. When you're competing at that level, for the likes of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, does that, in the long term, and especially going into the summer and the games that's coming up, does that help continue to raise the bar for you personally, given that you're already coming up against strong opposition, if you like?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think being around in that environment just pushes you on and gets you to places that you wouldn't have been otherwise. But I actually made the decision to move back here. I kind of went against what everyone was saying in September, and I've come on so much that I think if you want it enough, you can get wherever you want, wherever you are in the world.
Just one more question to each of you. Steve, quite generally as well, what would you class as a successful Commonwealth Games for the athletics team?
Oh, the $1 million question. I just want to see everybody compete at the highest level they can, and my job is just to make sure that they have nothing to worry about and they get there and they're able to do their best. And it's just great that we've got it's just really good, and I think people maybe sometimes lose sight that the standard that these guys are competing at, and they're all eager to compete for the Isle of Man, and it is a big deal for us. So, the Isle of Man is special to us all, and it's great that we get that chance.
Ollie and Regan, from your perspectives as athletes, of course you want to do well, you want to compete, and you want to win if you can. That's a given. But what other positives would you like to take out of the games, as well as trying to get the best result possible on the day?
Yeah, I think being competitive is probably important for me. How that looks, it depends on the start list and who's entered and things, but if I can just stay sort of mentally and physically strong throughout the race and just do my best, providing I do that, I'll be proud of myself and my efforts.
And Regan, similar question again. No ultimatums, no undue pressure to be put on you in that sense, but do you have any particular objectives in mind, whether specific or just generally? I
don't want to go into the competition. I want no one to think that I'm just there for experience and I'm just this young kid. I want to go and compete. The age thing isn't anything I've thought about. I want to go and compete against the best athletes in the world and show them that I am also one of them.
Thank you for having the stamina to make it to the end of the Manx Radio SportsCast. You're clearly someone who has their eye on the ball at all times. Want to hear more about the latest sporting news across the Isle of Man and much more? Then might I recommend you take the plunge and subscribe to this series or a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so that, in a flash, all of our finest moments take a winner's place on your smartphone. Thank you.